audio engineer and technical Grammy Award winner Carlo Libertini, who is here to discuss audio mastering on behalf of today's sponsor, iZotope.
Thank you for joining me today. My name's Carlo Libertini. I've been an audio production engineer for over 2 decades, and I've also been a product specialist utilizing some of today's most cutting-edge software for some of the best companies in the industry. I'm talking about iZotope and Celemony. To get started, now today we're going to be doing advanced workflows for repairing, tuning, and mixing pop vocals, and we're going to be using RX by iZotope, Melodyne 5 Essential by Celemony, and Nectar 3, again by iZotope. And we're going to walk you through how you can incorporate these amazing products, which now come bundled here in the Home Studio Vocal Bundle, available by iZotope for one amazingly low price. So for more information, just check out this link or visit iZotope.com at any time. All right, let's get busy. First, we're going to get started with RX Standard here. Now, why do you want to do that? Well, it's simple. RX is a powerful audio editor. It can actually go in and surgically and creatively attenuate. It can fix things that you really want to correct in some audio, and it's really easy to use. For example, since we're working with lead vocals here, let's bring in some audio. Now you can open a file or drag and drop. It's up to you. If I come up to my Finder here, I can choose my lead vocal, drag it, drop it, and there it is. Now what are we looking at? Here we have our graphical interface here. We have our timeline here at the bottom going from left to right, and our frequencies low here at the bottom and our high frequencies here at the top. Okay, so there's our scales. You can also change between a direct waveform view or the spectrogram view like this. But most often, most people, including myself, we choose a balance of the two. Why? Because what we're looking at here is sonic energy. Here's our waveform, but the brighter areas here that we're seeing in orange denote more amplitude in those frequencies. And this is where this view can really shine. It can really help you get in that creative headspace. For example, I can see right here in this area, we have a very strong low energy blast right about there, here at 1 minute and 36 seconds. Let's take a listen to this, see what it is.
Picking up all the pieces.
It's a plosive, just like that. Now it's a female singer, so we want her to emote and really give us the best performance possible. And it's exactly what she did. Now, how do we correct this? Well, here in our left-hand side, we have some modules. And if you notice, one of them says D-plosive. So if you hear something and you want to correct it, well, iZotope has a module for that. But why do you want to use these modules? It's simple. They've been fine-tuned to work specifically with those areas, to target just what it is exactly you want to edit. For example, a plosive. You're not grabbing a utility that you want to use on everything all the time, because this is intelligent. Watch as I select this range of audio just like this. I'll zoom in a little bit more. Now you have some options from the drop down. You can choose default, create your own presets, anything at all, or even light removal. And you can adjust the parameters and just choose render. And just like that, the plosive is now gone. Let's take a listen to this.
Picking up all the pieces.
Very natural. And you can undo that too. You notice down here in the lower right corner, we have a history where we can select to redo and undo some of our choices. Okay, and there's another plosive area right about here I can see. Yep, here's another one. If I select this and choose, let's choose default this time, and choose render, there we go. It's a little bit more aggressive. You can see it pulled out a lot more of that energy. It erased some more frequencies there for us.
Picking up all the pieces.
But again, very natural, very, very, very easy to use. Let me undo that. I want to show you something. If you don't select any audio and render this module, it'll render the entire track. So keep that in mind. That may be something you want to do sometimes, but you really want to use your ears first and listen. But in this area, I'll show you, I'll select this range, and with the default preset, I'll just choose render and see how it just targets those plosives and fix them all. Now we're audio editing here with RX. You can see how these modules are really easy to use. I also noticed that we've got some breaths in here. Let's take a listen.
Picking up all the pieces.
Now, breathing is good, especially when you're singing, right? And you want the artist to really emote and perform well. But why do we want to possibly attenuate these breaths? Well, it's simple. When you start adding dynamics to this and making things louder, you're also going to increase those breath sounds. Now, if that's something you want as a producer, that's your choice. But we have the power to articulately work with these and edit them out. I'll show you what I mean. Let's select a range of audio. Let me go from about here to there. And I'm going to choose breath control, our first module. Now you can see we have some options from the drop down here. Now the sensitivity will tell you how deep and how far to look for the breaths, and the level control, how much to reduce it by. And if I was to choose render, let's see what happens. Okay, and you can undo that. Let's go something a little bit more aggressive. I'll increase my sensitivity now. Highlight my audio again and bring it down a little bit more. You see, I'm using the plugins. I'm contouring these to this specific wave file. And there, it's pulled them out even more. So I did that quickly and easily. Let's take a listen to this from right about here.
Try waiting for ya, picking up all the
Very natural, very tight. Let me undo that. I want to show you a little trick here. I'm going to select output breath only and choose render. Now this is what it's pulling out. These areas here. This is just a breath. There. Now let me undo that, uncheck this, and choose render again. All right, so we did some audio editing now. Now we could go on and on if this needed any more work, but it's a really good vocal take to get started with. What you should do is when you're done or come to a place where you're satisfied, now you want to save your audio. You want to export this, I should say, thus creating a new wave file with your edits applied. And to do that, simply come up to File and choose Export. And this is where it's going to create a brand new wave file with the parameters that you select in this window. You want to navigate anywhere on your hard drive on your computer to where you want to save this. That's very important. And then just choose OK. And then we can import this into our session with step 2. We're going to process this with Melodyne, and then we're going to produce it with Nectar 3. Okay, so here we are in Studio One. Now, the reason why I'm choosing to use Studio One as my DAW is because of something called Audio Random Access, which pertains to Melodyne. I'll show you that in a moment. But first, we need to import our lead vocal track that we edited with RX. So what we're going to do is drag and drop it here. I'm going to go to my folder, choose my lead vox, RX Go, and drag it in there. And just like that, we imported it here into Studio One. Let's take a listen to this track.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight. I would be alright all alone. It was incredible.
Great. Now, what is Melodyne? It's an audio editor, but it does something very unique. It has some amazing tools which allow you to manipulate pitch and time and now amplitude like never before. So if you wanted to edit this with Melodyne, we're going to select the audio, and now under audio here in my tab, I can choose Edit with Melodyne, or right-click and choose Edit with Melodyne. And this is Audio Random Access. It's opening up Melodyne Essential, which is part of the home studio vocal bundle that we're offering here from iZotope. Here is Melodyne Essential. Now this comes with Nectar 3 when you buy it, and it's part of the home studio vocal bundle. This audio is literally analyzed the waveform, and it's presenting it to us as musical data, as notes now, as musical information. So whether you're musically inclined or not, Melodyne's going to do more than meet you halfway there. For example, just by opening it up in Melodyne, we can see what key it's in, F minor. We have our pitches ascending from low to high here in the left-hand column, and our timeline going from left to right here in the above ruler. Now, if you wanted to play audio from within the Melodyne editor window, just double-click in it like this.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling.
If you don't do that, it'll play your entire session back.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling.
So that's how you can play back audio. You want to specifically listen to this, you can do that. You can always solo the track if you need to, but you can just double-click and it'll give you a focus on just that track alone. Now let me zoom in a little bit here. I'm going to right click. We have our grab tool for scrolling around and our zoom tool for zooming in. All right. Now, if you look at this, it's telling us a lot already. For example, this first note here is an F. And by selecting it, I got in my dialog box here, it's telling me it's about 10 cents sharp relative to what? Well, if you look way over here in the top left corner, it says 440. But there's a tuning fork there. If I select that, you'll see that it's detecting tonal center at 437.9. Now that's the average tonal center of the whole performance. You could select that and make that your default tuning center right there. And then your edits will be a little less aggressive, or you could just choose Western, Central, 440, like so. So according to 440 now, this note would be 10 cents sharp. Let's pick this note, for example. This is 11 cents sharp, and so on. So it's giving us a lot of information. Now, I understand that we're using Melodyne Essential, which really is the introductory version of Melodyne, but it's still very feature-rich and still very powerful. And of course, it's upgradable from there if you choose to. All right, so let's take a listen. Sometimes what I like to do is set a cycle range. I can literally drag in my timeline like this between, let's say, bar 12 and just before beat 1 on bar 18, and it'll loop the audio. This is called real-time audio editing. While the audio is looping back, we can edit this without worrying about making crossfades or anything at all. For example, I'm going to open my correct pitch macro right here. Now, what a macro does, it's a consolidated set of tools that's really simplified and easy to use. For example, it gives me a slider here relative in percentage. As I move this slider, you'll see all of my audio is dynamically moving. The most out of tune notes are moving first, closer to tonal center, and you can do this in real time while the audio is playing back. Now, your pitch drift, if you notice that, the pitch line, the strength of the pitch line is now moving closer to tonal center. Oftentimes you might hear people say, hey, that sounds really pitchy. Well, it's because they're not concentrating the strength of their performance on tonal center. Perhaps they're a little tired or something like that. All right, so if I bring this up, you can see we can stop when it sounds good and we do it in real time. Let's try that right now.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight. I would be alright all alone. Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight. I would be alright all alone.
There. Now, I did that all in real time. Another thing I want to point out to you is that if you don't select any audio, the entire track gets processed. Okay? So keep that in mind. When you select a correct pitch macro, it's tuning the whole track. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can select a range of notes and edit it. Okay? Now let me undo my edits, and I'll show you what I mean. If I select just this group of audio, come up to my correct pitch macro, just a section in red is now being edited. So there's a little tip for you. I like to work in groups like this personally, because you really don't know what's happening further down the line. So I literally will just take it in chunks, in blocks of audio like this, really fine tune it until I'm happy, and then you're good. Now, if you don't want to use a macro for correcting the pitch, one thing you can do with your main tool right here is just simply double click and see how the audio went down to tonal center right there. And this one, let's select this one, and there. Now, if you wanted to further manipulate this, you could deactivate your pitch grid. I can turn the treble clef off here, and now I can move a note anywhere in the pitch scale. Okay. Another way to do that would be to hold my Option key or Alt on a PC and free yourself from the grid like this too. So there's a lot of flexibility there for editing pitch with Melodyne Essential. Okay? All right. Let's take a listen to, let's go to a little bit further down here. And I'm going to show you the timing macro. Now what this is going to do is it's going to divide my grid up for me and allow me to time it's going to quantize the audio, tighten it up to the nearest downbeats according to the grid spacing that I choose in the above section right here. Auto will automatically use an intelligent mathematical algorithm to figure that out. And in some higher up versions of Melodyne, like Studio, for example, you can actually time this to a selected other track. Really great for locking like a bass drum to a bass guitar or something like that. All right. So we're not going to do any time editing on this because I think the timing is pretty good. But what we are going to do is introduce the new note leveling macro right here. Now, this is a feature that has been on my wish list with Melodyne for a very long time, and I'm really glad to be a part of this macro. I love what they did here, and it's very simple. Make quiet notes louder or make loud notes quieter. Watch this. I'm making only the quietest notes louder, and now if I slide this one down, I'm making louder notes quieter. Okay, let's do this in real time. Remember how we select our cycle ranges? I'm going to select, let's say right here, halfway through bar 16 to bar 22. All right, let's do right about there. And let's play it back, and I'll do it just the vocalist right here.
Thought I would be alright all alone. It was incredible, so unforgettable. Give me another night. Thought I would be alright all alone. It was incredible, so unforgettable.
There.
Give me another.
Then when you're done, just hit OK to commit your edits, okay? Now remember, that's processing the whole track because I didn't have this area selected here, but I wanted to show you how easy that it was to do. Which brings me to my next really cool option, and that's again here in the top left corner is the compare button. Look at that. When I activate it, it's actually switching back to the original file so we can A/B our work. All right, here's the original file right here.
I would be alright all alone. It was incredible.
And now let's activate it.
I would be alright all alone. I would be alright all alone. It was incredible.
There. Now, what are you doing exactly when you're using a note leveling macro? You might think, hey, that's just what a compressor would do. Well, kind of. What you're doing is you're source editing the audio. You're actually treating it like the artist had good microphone technique at the time. You know, we want our artists to really emote and literally have a great performance because that's what you want to capture. Then you can use tools like this to compensate for that event and maybe correct for things like poor microphone technique. If you get too close or too far away, well, this is going to source edit the audio. And then you can use your compressors more creatively and less correctively because you're letting Melodyne do all the fixing for you. All right? Hopefully that makes sense to you, everybody, a little bit, okay? So there we have some of the most powerful editing tools. We got our pitch scale, our timeline, we have our macros here, and this is all happening in Melodyne Essential. All in real time, by the way, without any latency at all. Matter of fact, let me close Melodyne Essential here, and you'll also notice that overlaying, you've got these orange MIDI notes because it also allows you to convert audio to MIDI. That's right. You can do audio to MIDI, but not with Melodyne Essential. You need Melodyne version Assistant to do that. So keep that in mind. When you see this MIDI notes over here, it's letting you know that Melodyne can convert to audio to MIDI, but you might need the right version to do that. Okay, so what do? We did some RX editing. We did some Melodyne pitch timing and amplitude editing. Let's do some vocal production now. Let me open up my mixer view, and let's now insert Nectar 3. Again, part of the home studio vocal bundle. Okay, awesome. And we'll pick this one right here. Now, here is Nectar 3. This is a suite of plugins, and they're called modules. As you can see, these modules can be literally moved in any order, and you can add and you can remove them at any time. Plus, it comes with an amazing group of presets here for any kind of audio that you're working with to get started. But what I really appreciate this is that every audio file is unique and different. So why not create a unique preset for that audio file? And that's where Vocal Assistant comes in here. I'm going to activate Vocal Assistant, and I'm going to choose Assist here, and it's going to listen to the track, and it's going to create a custom preset for us. Now here under the Assist, we've got types of vibes. We have vintage, modern, And even if we're working with dialogue, and then intensity, we have a light, moderate, and more aggressive processing here. I'll keep it under modern and moderate right now. And then when I choose next, it's going to start listening to the audio and it's going to make a preset for us. Now, mind you, if you're using headphones right now, the audio might jump in volume a little bit, so just be a little bit mindful of that. It can happen. But another thing that iZotope does is while it's creating this preset, it's going to give you the information. It's not going to hide anything from you. You're going to be able to see on screen exactly what it's doing to help inform you about the process. All right, let's try it.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight. I would be alright all alone. It was incredible, so unforgettable. Give me another night to burn the memories in my brain.
There. Now, when it's done, just simply choose accept. But look at all this information. It analyzed the input, determining the optimal input gain. It's also made some sibilance, some de-essing, dynamics, and even added a little bit of reverb. So let's check out the preset now. Now I'm going to expand the window down here in the lower right corner to make the plugin window a little bit bigger for us. And there we have it. So typically, here we've got a gate. It's not active. We could activate that simply by turning it on and off like this and choosing the parameters. But the first thing it did is it created a subtractive EQ. So it's subtracting some frequencies to help it fit in the mix a little bit better. And now for the second EQ is a little bit creative. It's boosting some frequencies. And then under our compressor, you can see it's active. It shows a solid state modeling preset. We have digital, vintage, optical, and solid state. Let's take a listen.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight. I would be alright all alone.
All right, let's bypass the Nectar 3 plugin so we can A/B it.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling.
Let's throw it back in.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling.
It's very clean, very clear, very present. It's sitting in the mix a lot better already, and we're just getting started. Let's go to the reverb for a moment. You can see that it literally is sweeping out some lows and some highs here. Now, here's another tip for you. Because we're working with a mono lead vocal file and we're on a mono track here, the reverb is going to be mono. If you want stereo effects, reverb and delays and such, you might want to insert Nectar 3 on a auxiliary bus and bus your vocal to it. That's another way of doing that. You can actually send it there and then take advantage of the effects in stereo. But for now, let's keep it in mono. Let's take a listen here. I'll solo the vocal.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight.
You can see we have a mix slider here in each module. I raised it up to 65%. Now I could bypass the reverb by deactivating it here.
Give me another night.
Bring it back in.
Give me another night.
There. Now you can also reposition any of these in your vocal chain. So it's very customizable. And when you do that, yes, you will change the way it sounds. So you have that flexibility too. Also, why don't we add something? The plus sign here, I'll select it and let's choose a delay, one of my favorite things. Now from the drop down, you've got different kinds of modeling of delays. You have digital, tape, analog, grunge, and echo. Let's go to a echo. And again, here's our mix slider. I'll set it down to about 50%-ish, right about there. Bring my feedback down a little bit, and I'll keep the vocal in solo so we can really listen to it. And remember, this will be a mono delay.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight. I would be alright all alone.
Wow, that sounds really great. Let's pop that in the mix.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight.
Now to change the timing of our delay, you can see it's on a quarter note right here. I'll adjust the slider. I can make more of a slap back by bringing it down to a 1/32.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight. I would be alright all alone.
There. Now we are having fun. Hopefully you're beginning to see how flexible and easy, and not only flexible and easy, but fun it is to produce vocals with an amazing application like Nectar 3 here by iZotope. And the fun doesn't stop there. What if I wanted the delay to come before the reverb? And let's try something different. Let me go to tape delay.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight. I would be alright all alone.
There. Now let's add something else. Let's take a look at some of the other modules. We have another compressor. We have dimension. What this does, it can apply a chorusing effect, flanging, and phasing. All right. Let me cancel that and go back to add. We have gate, harmony, and saturation. Let's go to harmony for a moment. You can actually create harmonies with this. With the plus sign, I can pop one in there and let's say pop one on this side. And to get access to the effects, you just have to select them like this. Let me solo the vocals now. We have multiple voices now that Nectar is going to layer in there to create unique harmony effects.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling. It was an oversight.
Okay, let me bypass the harmony just to ABR work.
Give me another night. Give me another night, darling.
Let's bring it back in.
Give me another night.
Now, if this was a stereo insert, you would have these, obviously, these harmonies more spread out. But again, for this presentation, we have it here on our main vocals as an insert here on our mono track. All right, so let me close out harmonies and let's try doing some saturation. Now this might be my favorite module. I know I love them all and you'll hear me say that often, but this really does what it says it's going to do in a great way, because if you wanted to add, yes, people talk about these things, a little tube, saturation, tape, warmth. What if you wanted to add a little bit of warmth to this vocal, make it sound a little bit more soulful, a little bit more hot? Take a listen to this. I'm going to bring up the percentage to about 50% and we set it to warm.
Give me another night.
Smoother.
Give me another night, darling.
Here's without.
Give me another night.
Here's with it.
Give me another night.
Let's try a different
Give
one.
me another night, darling. It was an oversight.
Oh, I like that. Let's pop it in.
I would be alright all alone. It was incredible, so unforgettable. Give me another night to burn the memories in my
So there you have it. We used RX to fix a couple of things. We used Melodyne to do some pitch editing, even some amplitude editing with the note leveler. And then we used Nectar 3 to really produce these vocals. And we had fun. And you can see the flexibility and the limitless creativity that these three applications in and of themselves can really provide you. But the best way is to really find out for yourself. So take advantage of the home studio vocal bundle right now offered by iZotope, and visit iZotope.com for more information. So have fun today. My name's Carlo Libertini, and thank you for watching.